Everyone wants to live an inspired life, yet so many people search for happiness following the footsteps of peers and taking advice from people who have different values and outcomes to which they're searching. There are people born into wealth, graduated from the best universities in the world, and there are people who have none of that and yet are living extraordinary lives full of fulfillment and reward. The purpose of this podcast is to share insights and strategies that allow you to question the status quo and think freely, so you can design your life and be who you want to be. We get one life. Time is our most valuable asset. I believe that when we're free and able to focus on meaningful work, we become better human beings. This is Always Free, and I'm your host, Jason Graystone.
Welcome to the leading podcast for financial empowerment and wealth creation. Subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss an episode. You can connect with Jason on social media and subscribe to the Jason Graystone YouTube channel for weekly videos. Don't forget to also subscribe to the weekly newsletter to receive frequent educational content and action steps to help you design your life so you can be who you want to be. For news on all future events and updates, go to jasongraystone.com.
Well, welcome back to the podcast, guys. This is the number one podcast for financial empowerment and wealth creation. And if you're listening to this for the first time, welcome. You're very, very welcome. If this is the first episode you've ever listened to, you're in for a treat if you go back to episode 1 and start there. The first 25, 26 episodes are deliberately put in order. And then later episodes will make much more sense as well, because I've kind of constructed this podcast as a journey and a strategy at the same time. So go back to episode 1 and start there, but I appreciate you listening. If you've listened to this podcast for more than, a few episodes now and you've got some value from it, I would love it if you would just take 5 seconds to go onto iTunes and leave a little 5-star review and type in some nice words, and that would help us boost this podcast, get the message out to more people. If you've got value from it, more people can get value from it as well. If we keep it up in that top, what do they call it these days? The bit that kind of shows you what they think would be valuable to you. Let's get it up there. So this particular episode, you've seen the title, Rich Get Richer Myth. I want to talk a little bit about that because I've seen, particularly over this pandemic that we're in right now, we're currently in the middle of or coming towards the end of, hopefully, this whole coronavirus pandemic that has swept the entire planet. And lots of businesses have gone out of business. Lots of people have been struggling to earn some more, keep afloat. And then there's been people who have been just completely thriving. And I want to kind of share some opinions, some things that I've noticed, some observations, and some principles and some facts around why that is. And hopefully, if it's you or if you know someone or you're kind of in that position or you're slipping into that position where you're finding yourself becoming a little bit resentful yourself because other people are earning more than you maybe, then I hope this will be of value. So the first thing I want to start by saying is over this period, I've seen lots of people slip into animal brain mode. And what that means is they're basically fearful of survival, because whenever we lose income or we drop income or things become unstable, it's like, well, wow, what are my chances of surviving? Are they lowering now? And they become a little bit scarce. And one of the things I've witnessed as people have taken to social media over the summer and going into the winter is a lot of arguments and debates, and there's all these conspiracy theories and all the rest of it, and people tend to get into these wars. And I've witnessed people go into these wars on a daily basis. It's almost like they get up every day to do that, to go into battle with Facebook groups and Facebook, all these kind of long threads with 100,000 comments, and it really blows my mind to see how people approach these things. I was looking at one the other day, and I think it was like an exercise bike or something. And some people were saying, what a joke, this is a ridiculously overpriced exercise bike, and, yeah, but they don't tell you about this and the monthly subscription and all this and that. And then other comments were, the best investment I ever made. This is an amazing bike. And it goes back to what I've said many times before about values, and just understanding that some people don't see certain things as good and some people don't see certain things as bad, but neither is really good or bad. It just depends how it fits with their own value system. And I see these people having these conversations and fighting and arguing and scratching and clawing. And I thought, if only people would just understand and accept that everyone's going to have different opinions. And it's okay. And the maximum people that in the whole world that will ever agree with you of any point that you make is 50%, because we live in a balanced world. And if you just accept that and know that, you can really approach situations differently. And I've said before, you expect 50% of the people to agree with what you're saying at any given moment in time. Just knowing that and understanding that is liberating. You're not going out trying to get acceptance from anyone. You're just going out and saying what your thoughts are. And there's a massive difference between an opinion and being opinionated, because when you have an opinion, that is your true, authentic opinion. Usually, most of the time, people are saying things that they feel is the right thing to say instead of being true to themselves, and they end up becoming a bit bitter and resentful as well. But if you've got a true opinion, it's what you really believe and it's what you value. And then opinionated is where you actually project that onto other people, your opinion, and you say that there's no other opinion other than mine, and you don't accept any other opinion other than yourself. And when you do that, you are literally becoming powerless to things happening to you in life, because there's always you're going to be very confused when people come and challenge you and fight you and bicker with you and argue with you. So one of the things that I see is a lot of people arguing about this whole, as we've gone into this kind of animal brain mode, I've seen a lot of people go on about, the kind of qualification thing, right? Where, I was looking at someone else's video this morning where they were talking about qualifications and how fitness professionals, you get the fitness professionals like Joe Wicks and all the rest of them that are out there earning a ton of money. And then you see all these other fitness guys who have done years of college, years of university, and they're more worried about kind of, shouting out and putting the likes of Joe Wicks and people like that down and trying to use their qualification as a shield. And in reality, no one cares about that. No one cares about that. Joe Wicks is out there providing value, and you're out there shouting about a qualification that's not helping anyone. So what I've seen quite transparently is as people go into this animal mode, they are limiting even more their ability to earn money. Because when people work with people, they just want a result. And the way that they get the result is by the person who's giving value being obsessed with getting the result for the person, not going out and saying, why is this, why is that? Why are they earning more? Why are they earning more? I've got this, I've got that. Why aren't I earning more? It's probably because you're asking that question instead of actually figuring out how you can go and get results for people so that they love you. And this is how it works. You give value. And you give people what they want, right? And there's so many people out there telling people what they need, and they're using their qualification. You need to know this, you need to know that. Qualifications do not matter unless you're a scientist or a doctor and you're saving lives. It doesn't really matter. And what matters is people getting the result that they want, right? So linking back to this kind of the podcast, and the title of this podcast is really how we go about doing that and how we're able to earn more money and how we haven't got an army of people who are all knocking down our door and shouting at us and hating on us and leaving horrible comments and fighting us and spreading rumors and all this kind of stuff. How does that happen? Well, I'll tell you how it happens, because if you was to come and work with me, first of all, you would be following me on my social media channels. And my social media, I'll be putting out messages and I'll be putting out quotes and I'll be speaking and doing stories, and it's all free. And at some point you'll resonate with what I'm saying and you'll want to hear more and more and you'll stick around. And if you stick around, then you'll learn about this podcast and you'll listen to this podcast, and you might listen to this entire podcast, every single episode. And by that time, you really, really resonate with what I'm saying. And yes, there's going to be a couple of things that you don't agree with, but there's going to be the majority of it that you do, and you are in alignment and agreement with my philosophies, my values, and you want to learn more. And you understand that I know how you feel, what you're going through, and that I have an answer and I can help you. Then you can learn more about my Facebook groups. So my Tears of Freedom Mastermind Facebook group, you might go into there, which is also free. And you might read all my articles that are free. And you might go on my YouTube channel and look at my videos that are free. And, you might spend a lot of time with me before you've even spent any money. Okay? Now, what I see a lot of businesses doing, the ones that are saying about qualifications, are the ones that are out there trying to make sales, and it's very, very difficult. Whereas if someone comes to me and says, how can I get involved with your Tears of Freedom program? There's not even a website that people can go to and learn about it. Do you know why? Because I don't want people going to a website to learn about it, because they might not be right for me. And I don't want to work with people who might be arguing or getting an unfair deal. So when you look at my line of work, whether it's through my trading education, whether it's through my wealth creation program, there's no victims. And a lot of people often say to me, how is it that you've built such a strong community and you've done it multiple times and you've got kind of this you've got great reviews and there's never any kind of negativity and all this? And it's because of this. There's no victims in my line of work purely because I want people to go through the free stuff first. And I'm giving value and value and value and value and value, right? So by the time that they get into my Facebook group and they want to learn more about the program and they want to work with me, they're really, really prepped, and there's a high probability that they're going to want to work with me and they're going to want to pay, and I can basically charge above what anyone with a qualification could charge. I'm an electrician, okay? That's the only qualification I got, a qualified electrician. And yet there's people out there who have studied at university, they've studied tax law, they've studied, accountancy, they've studied all this kind of stuff. And they're there moaning that they've got a qualification. Who am I to teach people? Well, I tell you who I am. I'm someone who's achieved financial freedom. That's it. And that is what people want. So if I can tell people how I did it, rather than telling people how qualified I am, they're going to work with me over the person who's got qualifications. It's as simple as that. If I was to go and hire a photographer for my wedding, I wouldn't care if they'd spent a day in photography school. What I would care about is their portfolio. And I would go on YouTube and look at what they've done, and I would want to employ them to replicate that result. So that's how it works. Now, how does this link back to the podcast? Well, some of you might be saying, well, yeah, that's all good. If people want to come and work with you and you tell them to go and listen to the podcast, because that's what I do. If people say, how can I find out about your program? I say, go and listen to my podcast, start at episode 1. If I'm interviewed on any other people's podcasts or in a magazine or whatever it might be, I'll say, they'll ask me at the end, how can people find out more about you? And I say, listen to my podcast. And that is it. I'm not saying you can buy my stuff. I'm not saying you can buy this course, that course. You can come and do this, do that. I want people to start at the beginning so that you can get as much value as possible. And then by the time they come to me, they've been through that journey and they definitely want in. If they haven't got that far and they disappear, then they're not right, are they? It wasn't right for them. So by the time we're charging people and giving and making sure that we can focus all our efforts and attention on getting them a result that they want at that point, they are going to be so ready for it and they're going to be so thankful for the result. Now, how does this link back to the podcast? Here's how. Some of you will be saying, well, yeah, but we've got to make money. That's the reason I teach what I teach. Okay? Because if you've got a cash cushion and a cash buffer and you're not producing products as an outcome of desperation, scarcity, and make a quick buck, and I've got to pay the rent, then your products are a completely different product. They're delivered with love, care, attention. People see that. It oozes out of the products. It oozes out of your your personality. It oozes out of you on social media. If you're calm, when you watch my social media, I'm never selling things. I'm just there talking. And the reason I'm not is because I don't need to sell at that level. What I need to do is I need to just, give value. And the reason I teach what I teach is because I believe that when you're free and able to focus on your most meaningful work, you become better human beings and you deliver more caring, loving products. And you naturally, as a result, without whether you like it or not, you will earn much more money. Okay? So when you become financially free, or when you put yourself in a position where you've got enough cash to cover a certain period of lifestyle costs, whether that's 3 months, 6 months, 12 months at the beginning, then you're going to produce products with care and love that are focused on getting a result and value for clients rather than paying the bills. And you will deliver much different, better products for doing that. So that's why people who understand financial freedom and people who understand the importance of wealth in time, or you might call it rich in life, they naturally make more money because it's impossible not to. Whether they like it or not, they're going to make more money unless they just sat there and, squandered it all, which would be someone who just isn't educated, and they wouldn't have got to that place in the first place unless they're a lottery winner. So that's really the rant and the tangent for this week's podcast. It was inspired by a little video that I saw on social. It was inspired by all the kind of witnessing of people banging heads in social media groups this year, and really just a reflection on behavioural, changes in people that I've witnessed through 2020. And it really does reinforce the importance of what I teach. It really, really does reinforce why I do what I do and the importance of this message. So that is it for this episode. If anything has resonated with you inside this particular episode, please share it around. And also, I'm going to make you an offer right now. I've never done this on the podcast. We are taking in 20 new members into my Tears of Freedom program before the new year. Okay, so all you need to do is make sure that you get into the Facebook group, which is tearsofreedom.com/mastermind, and you can get into that group, and I'm going to be offering you the chance to get one of the places in the Tears of Freedom program before New Year's Day. So guys, before I head out, I just want to say, if you've listened all year, thank you very much. I really appreciate you tuning in to listen to this podcast. I want to wish you an amazing Christmas and a happy new year. And until then, take care. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you then.
Subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss an episode. For news on all future events and updates, go to jasongraystone.com.